right? So if you're not, then let me know, and I can actually ask you some questions. So, so I would like to start off with this dashboard. So this is how we enable democracy in the country. As you can see, this is basically the general elections which just concluded yesterday in the state of Tamil Nadu. And this dashboard was built by me over a weekend, about 4 to 5 weeks ago, when the people were still filing in their nominations. And this was a real-time dashboard. So the nomination process started on the 22nd of April and went all the way up to the 29th of April. We got 7,149 candidates who actually contested the elections, and the CEO reached out to us and basically said that, hey, can you actually build a real-time dashboard for us, which can show us real-time updates as people are actually filing in their papers. So this is a real-time dashboard you can see, and basically you can go and slice and dice. For example, in the state of Chennai, I just want to click on the state of Chennai, click on the district of Chennai, and it will show you the assembly level constituency details here, and I can go in and I can select in Chepak, I can select in Radhakrishna Nagar, Egmore, and it's doing a addition of all these things you can see, right? I mean, you can see the numbers going up, and it also gives you the split up day by day, right? And in the next phase, you can basically go in and select everything. Then you want to select for, say, some other district. Let's say I want to select the district of Erode, and I go to Erode, and so this is all. These are all the list of people's list of numbers that I have seen on a day-to-day basis. And the blue one shows female, and the brown one shows male. Here you can see the name of the person, right? The complete name of the person and his gender. We had initially thought of putting his actual scanned paper that they file, and also his photo, but then we thought against it, according to the CEO. But we could also put his filing paperwork that they scan and send to the government, and also their photograph here for the general people to see. So this site is live on their website, so the whole country can actually go and see this site, right? And you can basically see that who is your MLA who has filed his or her paper from your particular constituency. In the same way, you can see here on this slide, I mean, this is basically slicing and dicing by total number of women versus men. So females, if you take for the whole of the state, total number of women is 794. Total number of men is 6,351. Then I can also choose to slice and dice by the parties that they have. I didn't want to put the names of the individual parties. That was actually supposed to be a violation of the electoral rules. But they asked us to essentially classify them as independent and national parties and state parties and all that. So this is the power of the cloud. I hope you all like this. So this is a SaaS-based application running completely off the cloud, and this is how we are actually enabling the democracy of the country. Okay. All right. So we'll start off with our slide deck. So this particular presentation will be on big data and how essentially government is using cloud-based analytics essentially to transform itself. Typically, when we speak to most of the government people, some of the things that commonly say is that sentiment of the people, right? I mean, sentiment analytics is the primary concern that people have. Like, what is it that they are thinking of the work that we are doing? It can be driven by re-election concerns. It can be driven by the feedback of the public. I don't know what, but if you talk to most of the bureaucrats in the government departments, sentiment analysis is one of the primary concerns they want. They also want to drive operational efficiency, where they want to reduce fraud. They want to actually check their spends, how much they are spending on some of the programs for the people. What is being spent under what head? These are some of the aspects that we have looked at. Tax is one area that we have worked extensively with many of the governments. Mumbai, especially, also in AP, wherein we have created some ML-based models for the Department of Sales Tax, wherein they wanted to understand trends, wherein they thought that people may be actually avoiding tax or violating taxes and stuff like that. So we have built a lot of intelligent models for the state tax departments. Right, so essentially this is what the government thinks, and as I go around this deck, we will show you the demos that we have built for the various states. We have also built one for the state of Gujarat, that is called E-Mamta. I don't know if you have heard of this project. So this is basically the child neonatal care project, wherein essentially we want to factor in the age of the mother, the age of the child, the caste of the mother, the economic status of the mother, essentially, and connect it with the health of the child. To understand and to look at the trends of where this thing is going. What is the age that the woman has the child? I mean, based on her based on her religion, education, her caste. So we see that if a woman is actually educated, she decides to have children at a slightly later date in her life rather than the earlier. So we look at those slides also as we speak, and I'll show you the work that we have done with the various states. In the end, I'll also show you a machine learning demo, which is basically how you can essentially send in data to a system, and the system can actually predict the outcome based on that particular set of data, right? So that is for the very end. But as we speak, I'll show you some of the Power BI demos that we have done. So these are basically the scenarios that the government of Gujarat wants to achieve, right? First of all, it wants to monitor the infrastructure projects. This is a common scenario across every state. And I'll show you a demo from MMRDA, wherein they wanted to actually monitor their tenders, right? I mean, MMRDA is one of the country's largest tender issuing agencies. They have tenders worth about 4,600 crores, which they release every year, and they wanted to understand what is the spend that I'm actually incurring on these type of tenders. Who is the L1 bidder for this tender? Who is the L3 bidder? What is the price variation amongst the L3 bidder and the L1 bidder? Things like this, right? And then they thought that there may be a case wherein some of the bidders might be doing some fraud. So we'll actually look at that, how we actually found that fraud, and we did find fraud there, right? And I'll show you. Next thing that I think the government of Gujarat wants to do is predict weather forecast and crop yields. So this is a scenario where we have worked with the Department of Land in AP, wherein they wanted to basically map the lands that they have, right? So now AP has got a very well defined land system, wherein every gunta, every hectare is very clearly marked and geotagged. So basically what they want is that when a land passes on from person to person, I mean, how is the land basically sliced and diced? When the land, let's say the father had 5 or 6 guntas of land, and when that land passed from father to son, whether that land was split, who are the owners of those lands now? I mean, these are farming land. These are not lands where you built houses. So how did this land slice and dice? What are the new geotags for these lands? What is the yield of this land? Whether the yield of the land has grown up or come down after the land was split. So these are some of the things that the Department of Land Revenue in AP wants us to do. Women and child, as I just said, the E-Mamta project here, I think, is a flagship one in this area, and we'll look at what we have built in that. Education and initiatives, I think, is another one. Here also Department of AP has done a fantastic job. So the scenario that they want us to build is that if I in a village or in a rural scenario, I have got a lot of details about a child's background. I know his age, I know his father's income, I know how much his father and mother are educated, where they are brought up, what is the age of the mother, what is the age of the father, what does the father do, what does the mother do. So based on all these factors, what is the past past education history of the child, if he has passed or failed. So based on all these factors, they want us to take up this data and predict whether the child is going to drop out of school or not. Okay, and what is the percentage chance that the person is going to drop out of school, right? So that if the percentage is higher than a preset value, they want the education system to actually intervene, and they want to stop that child from dropping out of school. So this was a flagship engagement which has gone live last month, wherein they have actually shared with us the data sets for their entire village and their taluka levels for all the all the children, and based on that we have actually built a model. Now if they actually input the data of any child, that model will calculate and tell them that yes, this child might drop out and this is the chance that he will drop out. So it will say drop out yes, chance 90%. That is a serious risk child, right? So you need to look into his case, and you need to actually actually intervene at the right time and stop him from dropping out of school. So most of the initiatives that we have seen that the government of Gujarat wants to do are basically common across all the states, and that is the reason I came up with some of the things that we have done in other states, so that you guys can connect with that, and we can have a seamless transfer of information. Okay, so what do we bring on to the table here? So firstly, we bring you immersive insights. You saw the charts that I just showed, and how the charts were actually interacting with each other. So basically, showing you beautiful charts is not really enough. What is the exact actionable insight that you get from the chart? That do you see a way that you can reduce your spend? Do you see a way wherein you can detect fraud? Do you see a way where you can educate women so that they can have their children later and have a better quality of life? So what is the exact actionable insight that you get from your data is what matters, and that is what we actually give you. We just don't give you beautiful charts. Connecting with the world's data, so you can basically connect to any type of data sources that you have, whether it is on-prem, whether it is on cloud, whether it is structured, unstructured, any type of data set you can actually connect. It is completely seamless. Any data, any size, anywhere. So let us say you have a big data or analytics infrastructure on-prem. The primary limitation of this particular infrastructure is the infrastructure itself. It is going to be limited by way of the capacity of the CPU, capacity of the RAM, right? So let's say you throw a very large compute query on top of that, the system will hang. It will not give you real-time insights that you saw as part of that chart. So what is needed is infinite compute only for a very short instance, right? Which only a SaaS-based tool can give you, right? No matter how large you size your on-prem cluster, or whether how much of RAM you throw, or how many CPU cores you throw. First of all, the entire infrastructure won't be used all the time, right? But when it is going to be used, you will see that it will get overwhelmed with the amount of compute that it will have. So these type of scenarios, a SaaS-based analytics tool is the best thing to use, because it can get compute when it wants it, and the rest of the time it does not use it. Somebody else is using that compute. So it is a shared compute across the cluster. So that is what the last tower elucidates. So these are some of the some of the aspects that we got. So you can also see that the volume of data is growing day by day. So you can get data now from Facebook, Twitter. Most of the ministries, as I said earlier, have got their own Twitter and Facebook handles, including our PMO sir. He tweets on a day-to-day basis. So what he's trying to understand, or what his people are trying to actually understand, is what is the exact response that his tweets are getting from the people, right? What is the impact of the policies? What is the sentiment of the people, right? So how do you read all these things, and how do you essentially crunch so much of data? If the PMO tweets something, there will be 1,000 people who will actually retweet that or send some responses to that. So how does the PMO know, what to do with this enormous amount of data, unless it has got the tool to actually crunch the data, process the data, and deduce actionable insights from that particular data, right? So this is some quote from Gartner. So you can see by 2015 orgs that build a modern information management will outdo their peers financially by 20 to 30%. So this is a quote. This is basically for the private industry, but it also applies for the government. So before we go on, I just want to quickly highlight some of the foreign governments which we have worked with, and also some of the Indian government codes. We have got a very wide set of tools that we have. Right from SQL Server analytics tools like SSAS, SSRS, SSIS, to the newer open source big data tools like Hadoop, HD Insight, Cassandra, MongoDB, DocumentDB, right, as well as ways to actually ingest the data and to transform the data, as well as charting tools like we just saw. So we run the entire stack. Stack to actually ingest the data, stack to store the data, the stack to transform the data, and the stack to view the data ultimately and deduce actionable insights. So we run the entire stack, and here in this case, I mean, this is for the Guangdong state of China. Guangdong is a state in China, so they basically used our SQL Server 2012 and did a comprehensive analysis based on that, and they saw a query speed increase 100-fold. Madhya Pradesh government essentially tags its tigers. Tigers in MP essentially have got a radio collar which they wear all the time. I mean, this is done as part of the Project Tiger or Save the Tiger initiative of the Wildlife Department. And that data is collated, and that is essentially analyzed and tracked to essentially manage the number of tigers. And you can see that average burnt area has actually reduced from 50 hectares to 4. In the same way, I mean, this is for Sweden. So what is really changing in the land of data, right? The three primary things that are changing is the volume, variety, and velocity. So the volume of data is actually multiplying day by day. As I said, I mean, there are newer and newer sources of data. There is a new source of data called born in the cloud, wherein the data is actually created in the cloud. Earlier, most of the data was created on-prem, right? That is, you would create a CRM transaction, you would create a database record, you would create like an Excel file, something that is stored on your enterprise system. That was the only source of creation of data. But now you see that the creation of data has moved onto the cloud. So the data is created on the cloud. So it is born on the cloud data. So now you will have to deal with data that is created on-prem and data that is created on the cloud. So that adds to a lot of volume. Variety. The type of data that is created on-prem will not be the same as the type of data that is created on the cloud, right? So these two data sets, since they are not born, they don't have the same DNA, right? One of the data can be structured. Most of the on-prem data sets that you have, that is your data sets in SQL Server, data sets in Excel, data sets in any other ERP tool that you might have, is most likely structured in nature. Whereas any data that is born on the cloud is unstructured in nature or streaming in nature. Sometimes you have these streaming data which actually come in, so which is actually structured but which have a very high velocity. Which actually takes me to the next one, velocity of the data. If you want to actually analyze the Twitter feed of, say, the PMO, you would need a system essentially to analyze all the retweets, all the answers, everything that the PMO gets in a very short amount of time. So the velocity of the crunching or the velocity of the data is actually very high. In the same way, if you want to actually analyze streaming data that is actually coming out of sensors as well as IoT devices, so you would need to have a system that can actually crunch that data. Government of AP has recently gone into this smart metering project in this place called GD Metla, which is a small town, and they are starting off with a pilot of about 50,000 meters. So what these meters will do is they will constantly send their readings of that meter, that is the consumption, temperature of the meter, parameters of the meters itself, to a centralized hub, and from that hub it would then route it to the cloud. And what they want us to do is, while the data is moving through the cloud, they want us to gather actionable insights while the data is in motion. Okay, so the data is not going from point A to point B and it's resting at point B and then you query point B. So they want us to query the data while it is moving, right? So that so they want us to look at whatever is the relevant actionable insights from that flowing data. Right, so this is a fantastic use case, and I'm sure as more and more smart cities come up, you would have these meters which would be sending in data to a centralized hub, and that is where the